Hello and welcome to the very first show of the Book Cellar, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. I am your host and weekly book guru, Jessica Gillen, here to bring you all the latest in bookish news and reviews to help keep that tableside lamp on all throughout the night, feeding your book fetish. I am so excited to begin this show and talk to you book lovers out there. If you're anything like me, you might have a variety of books on your shelf, not adhering to one specific genre. My love for books has no bounds. I read fantasy, classics, historical fiction, and nonfiction. True crime and mystery. It's all over the place. I am a lover of all books. And I recently graduated from college. When I was in college, I wasn't able to read for pleasure, really. It was all work. I worked 3 jobs. We had a lot of homework. I had to spend time with my family and my friends. So books kind of fell by the wayside. I still was able to read a little bit, but that was usually on like winter breaks. I did take classes in the summer, so I didn't really have a summer break. But during those spring breaks and winter breaks, I would be able to get a book in. So in 5 years of college, I think I read maybe like 4 books, maybe 5 books. It wasn't that many. I was quite sad about it. And so I'm really excited to start this show and kind of get my energy up about reading again. It's something that I really love. I've always loved to read, even as a really young child, that and puzzles, kind of strange. I loved a video game. I also, of course, love binging TV shows and movies and just kind of being a little introvert inside my apartment here. But books, to me, have the closest spot in my heart. And I really want to bring that to you, the listeners, so we can build this book community and get excited about books again. I don't really see a lot of us out there anymore like I did back in 2011 when I first started to do book reviews. There was a lot of us out there. Now I don't really see that, and that kind of makes me sad because I do think that reading is something that brings us all together, as well as is insanely good for your mind. When I was reading, 5 books a month, 5 books a week, and I wasn't in college, my reading comprehension level was so high that when I did test into college, I was able to bypass so many of my English classes just because of how many books I was reading. So it's definitely a skill that I believe everybody should have, and I want to encourage you to read, so that's why I'm doing this show. So hopefully you'll hear about books that get you excited, and you'll kind of hear my excitement in them, especially if I love them. I really want to bring that level of love back to the book community and to you, the listener. So this show is going to encompass all the latest book news, including book releases, my own personal book reviews, book adaptations coming to our screens, and the overall hype surrounding a series, especially ones that we may never see the end to, such as Game of Thrones. I'm a huge fan of that show. I love the book series, but it's been 7 years since we've had a sequel to A Dance with Dragons. Where is Winds of Winter? George R. R. Martin keeps saying he's writing it. I'm getting to it. Like, dude, it's been 7 years. I know you take a lot of time between books, but 7 years? That's a little excessive. Come on. Get your butt in gear. We really want that book. At least I do. Seriously, though, if you ask me what my favorite book is, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I love being transported to different worlds with every book that I read, and reading has the ability to pull me out of any funk or bad mood I'm in. And I encourage you to at least try to read 1 book a month. We need more of us out there, like I said. I love talking to people, especially about books, ones that they recently read and really are excited about, because it gets me inspired to check it out. And it's about creating and growing not only ourselves, but each other, and getting us excited about things other than TV shows and movies and video games, which are all things I love. But books, there's nothing better than sitting down and being transported to a world. My imagination is top notch. I can come up with the strangest stories off the top of my head. I do it to my friends all the time, or like random songs. And yeah, it's quirky, it's different, but that's because I've read so much that my brain is constantly in this inspirational, imaginary world in itself. I'm definitely a strange little cookie, but like I said, my friends really enjoy it. People in my life think that that is kind of an endearing quality to me, and I have books to thank for that. My personality was crafted from virtual reality, video games and books. So it's kind of awesome. And I really want to get you guys excited about it too. So like I was kind of mentioning before, it's not my first time reviewing books. About 8 years ago, I was a YouTube book reviewer who went by the name of The Evangeline Lily, which you can still find on YouTube. I don't encourage it because they're so bad and it was so long ago. But hey, we all have to make fun of ourselves sometimes. But I'm not going to be able to check, if you watch it or make comments or anything like that. I don't even know my password to that account anymore. It's probably why the videos are still up. But yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. But hey, check it out if you want to. And what's interesting is Mike Shea, who is also the star of Mike Talks Funny, as well as the track record here at Eventide Entertainment. He was also a YouTube reviewer / star who focused on movies and music at the same time that I was doing my reviews. And it was something that we supported each other in. And it's kind of funny how things come full circle because now we're, together again doing very similar things that we were 8 years ago. It's almost like, we're young 20-somethings again. Anyway, he's great. You need to check him out. He's hilarious. Makes me happy. Anyway, so at the time that I was doing my book reviews, I was not in college. I had endless amounts of time to read and review. And that eventually led me to getting books sent to me by publishers for free in exchange for a review, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. Who doesn't want to get free books from publishers? Let alone to know that publishers want to hear what you have to say about their book. That was exciting to me, and it's not something I'm really wanting to happen again. I would love for it to happen, but at the same time, that's why we have libraries. That's why we have friends who have bookshelves where we could be like, hey, have you read this? That looks cool. Oh yeah, let me tell you about that. So I'm not really pushing towards that, but I think something that I want to kind of go back to my old days is I did a lot of written reviews as well. So along with the show where I'm going to be talking about a book review that I have for you of a book I read that month, as well as book news, on the same day that I say my book review, I'm also going to have a written book review on my Goodreads page. So I'll make sure to link those links in the description so you can click on them and check them out. But those reviews will probably be more encompassing of greater detail. I don't want to talk at huge lengths about books and like the different plot and the characters, but I'm going to have more of a breakdown in my written reviews. And that'll kind of keep us more connected with each other, as well as you can give me feedback on there too. All right, so enough about me. Although, you guys are listening to my voice, so it's, I guess, still kind of about me. But it really is about you and book readers out there and us coming together and having a passion to talk about again. So let's talk about how I'm going to choose books every month. So I'm going to be choosing 4 new books to read every month, with a 5th viewer's choice that you will get to decide what you want to be. I will have a link of the poll in the description box, and the first listener's choice will be open until November 25th. So make sure you vote and tell me what you want reviewed for the month of December. I will list all the books I will be reading for the month of November, as well as the popular releases coming to you on the next week's show. So make sure you tune in for that show, and that's on October 29th. The 4 books I will be choosing are going to be from 4 different categories because I want to give you the most variety possible. I know a lot of us, I might be one of those people that kind of floats between all different kinds of genres. I do have my favorite genre. Fantasy is kind of like where I have always belonged and manifested in, but I still love so many other genres. So I kind of want to reach all of you out there. If you don't like fantasy, well, there might be another category you like. So let's talk about those. Those categories are So the first one is adult fantasy. So every month I'm going to pick one adult fantasy novel. And this could be from authors like George R. R. Martin, Pierce Brown, Patricia Briggs, and Neil Gaiman, only to name a few. Those are just names that kind of came to me at the top of my head. But it'll be kind of in that realm, science fiction, fantasy, adventure type of books. So the second category is going to be true crime or murder mystery. So this is a genre that I love, and it's kind of where I want my career to go next. I have always had a really big interest in true crime or criminology. I got a degree in human services, and I'm thinking about actually going to law school and either going towards human rights law or criminal law and kind of working with like the Innocence Projects and places like that, because have always had this passion for true crime, whether it's like the TV shows, books. I mean, we kind of all in this country have an obsession with serial killers, and they're cool too. And we're definitely going to be picking books from like that talk about serial killers or huge cults, like the Kool-Aid cult. But I think it's also important to also read those books about the people that, you know, were convicted, but why were they convicted? There's all this evidence showing that this person wasn't even around, like whether it was an alibi that was never checked upon, or there's just no DNA evidence connecting them to the crime. Why were they convicted? And kind of talking about that social injustice that is kind of present in our culture right now, especially in today's world, is rampant and crazy right now. And I think that's a subject that I would like to talk about. I think maybe you would like to listen to. And something we can also kind of discuss on my Goodreads page too. Maybe you have more suggestions of different books that kind of got your interest in true crime. Like, I read Reddit pages. I'm on fan pages. Like, I just love that stuff. I love talking to people about it too. And kind of almost being an investigator in the background. So the third category is young adult. And this is the entire genre of young adult. So that's, you know, realistic fiction, fantasy, science fiction, paranormal, dystopian, all that. So that's authors like Neil Schutzerman, who's author of Scythe, Unwind, Everlost, great books, you should check them out. Veronica Roth, who was the author of the Divergent series, which also became the movies. Carve the Mark is her new book. And like Cassandra Clare, who's also a big name in the YA community, who was the author of the Mortal Instruments series, which should have been just a trilogy, but, you know, why not turn it into 7 books? Okay, and the last category that I will personally be choosing from is book to TV show adaptations. So these are books like that have been turned into shows, maybe even currently, such as The Handmaid's Tale, Outlander, Memoirs of a Geisha, or it could also be books that I've heard is in talks of becoming a movie or becoming a TV show. So that's kind of interesting. It'll give us something to talk about as far as the bridge between movies and TV shows and books, because that seems to be a really big trend in the last 20 years. Is a lot of movies and TV shows are pulling their ideas from popular books. So that'll be something really cool to talk about. And last, you get to decide. The last category, the last book, it could be anything. It does not matter. It could be realistic. It could be historical fiction. I don't care. As long as you guys vote for it and that's the one that you want, cool. I'll be down, ready to read it and give you a great review of it. I just want to make sure that you guys get a lot of feedback and excitement in what you want to hear me read. And, you know, as the show progresses too, there are certain categories that you really like more, and I am able to kind of keep up with my reading schedule, I might add more books in. But as of right now, we're going to do 5 books a month. Month of November is probably going to be 4 or 5. I'm planning on 4. Might go for a 5th. I'm already halfway through one of the books right now, and it's still October, so... So we are going to take a quick break before I get into my review of American Gods. So make sure to stay tuned while you hear all Eventide Entertainment has to offer to help feed those nerdy habits and obsessions of yours. Stay tuned.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company. Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com. Are you into making music, videos, or podcasts? Are you a local comedic talent in need of some much-needed publicity? Are you a behind-the-scenes professional interested in audio-video production, graphic design, and public relations? Eventide Entertainment is actively seeking talents, clients, and professionals to help our business grow into something truly special. And we want you to be one of those. For more information, go to facebook.com/Eventide Entertainment or send us an email at eventideent@gmail.com.
And welcome back. We're going to start and jump right into my first book review, and that is going to be American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This was published in July of 2001, so quite a long time ago. Just starting to really branch out and read more of Neil Gaiman's books. It's also a Starz TV show now. Season 1 just ended, I believe, back in June of this year. And I'm going to read the Goodreads excerpt from Neil Gaiman himself about what this book is about. Days before his release from prison, Shadow's wife Laura dies in a mysterious car crash. Numbly, he makes his way back home. On the plane, he encounters Mr. Wednesday, who claims to be a refugee from a distant war, a former god, and the King of America. Together, they embark on a profoundly strange journey across the heart of the USA, while all around them, a storm of epic proportions threatens to break. Scary, gripping, and deeply unsettling, American Gods takes a long, hard look into the soul of America. You'll be surprised by what and who it finds there. So this book has quite the following on Goodreads, and I mean, not even just Goodreads. I've heard college professors talk about this book, friends, family members. It has over 500,000 ratings and almost 30,000 reviews on Goodreads. And it appears I'm in the minority here with this book because honestly, I was a bit let down. The problem, first off, is the hype surrounding this book. Most people I've talked with have either loved this book or really, really enjoyed it. When that happens, I tend to have this vision in my head that the book is going to be unlike anything ever. Although this was true, it was unlike anything I had ever read. I wasn't into it like people promised I would be. Hype and me are not a good mix. I turn into Mrs. Critical. I don't like overhyped books. I get it's like if people love it so much, I'm gonna be like, why do people love this? I'm gonna be super harsh and see what I don't like about it. And there's been a couple books that have been overhyped and I've been like, wow, that was really, really good. Good job, people hyping that up. However, a lot of times I don't like them because I look for the faults in a book. I want to know what people were missing, what they didn't see. Why did they hype this? So, I've read other Neil Gaiman books, such as Coraline, The Graveyard Book, and Stardust, all of which I loved. I love his writing. And I also knew that it was going to be a little odd and hard to grasp at times. I like odd. I'm odd. But this book was a bit overly odd and hard to understand. This led me to being quite bored a few times. And even when I tried to push through it, it felt like I was dragging my feet to sit down to read this. I honestly had to lock myself in my room and concentrate on what was happening. Otherwise, I was stuck with my head in the clouds. Never a good sign with a book. Usually when I'm reading, it's like I sit down, it's like one and done. I get through like maybe 1/3 of the book in one sitting. This book, it was like so many attempts for me just to sit down to read a couple chapters. It was rough. Yet this book did have some qualities and entertaining dialogues that I did enjoy between characters. The best parts were the introduction of some of the gods and the dialogues between mortals and immortals, the old gods and the new. Most of them I had never heard anything about. This led me to do some outside research, which I love, especially when books inspire me to research outside of what I'm reading. I had so much fun reading old mythologies and some of the characters. I have to give major props to Gaiman for the amount of research he took to create this piece of literature. Additionally, I thought it was quite clever that this book felt like a collection of short stories, while the main plot was happening in the background. The characters were some of the most interesting parts of the book. The concept is genius and definitely pulled me in and made me excited to read it. I love mythology, and I took multiple classes of it in college. So history and mythology wrapped up in a book were the best parts, in my opinion. However, I felt like the big reveal took way too long to get to the point, and it left me feeling uninterested at times. And when the big climax happens, I was thinking, all this build up, all those times the characters say, the war is coming, and this is what you give me? Ugh. The big speech at the end, no spoilers, was so anticlimactic and so, dare I say, generic. I want to push this book away from me. It was so frustrating. So overall, I give this book a solid 3 out of 5 because it did interest me enough that I did do some outside research, which is always a big plus to me and exciting to me when a book makes me that interested in a subject. Neil Gaiman is a brilliant writer, but unfortunately this book is not something I'll be reading again. Too anticlimactic for me after all that build up. I felt so let down, so sad. So the show, season 1 aired this year from April to June on Starz. Starz also had a very famous show, Spartacus, if anyone's ever seen that. Really great show, definitely rated M for mature. Most of the shows on premium channels are rated M, but Spartacus is very M. But this show was recommended to me by my dad, as we have similar TV show tastes such as Game of Thrones, Outlander, Penny Dreadful, and Hannibal, like those dark shows. I decided to give it a try and watch it with some of my closest friends, because I really value their opinion, and they're hilarious to be around. I had already read a few chapters of American Gods at this point, and I was looking forward to watching the show with my best friends in hopes they would spark my interest in the book more. I can't help but laugh as I remembered the puzzled looks on me and my friends' faces as we attempted to watch episode 1. We decided to try episode 2 in hopes of having a better understanding of what the show was about, and we were so wrong. The first 2 episodes were confusing but intriguing, but not enough to excite us with the show, that's for sure. However, since I finished the book, I'm willing to give the show another shot, especially since I now understand the concept better. But that was really a rough go for me and my friends. I mean, we sat there and watched both episodes, and there was things that we liked. Visually, it's very appealing. The characters were interesting. It was just so confusing. And I mean, I'm pretty sure one of my friends actually fell asleep halfway through the second episode, and me and my other friend were just left like there by ourselves going like, what is this about? What's happening? It was just, oh man, it was rough. The reception of the show actually had very positive reviews, and I agree with what the reviews say, saying that the visuals in the show were amazing. And I think the show is worth giving a shot at watching, especially since the entire season is out, as it may be easier to understand and grasp than the book. I'm definitely going to give it a shot again, because now that I've read the book, I have a very clear understanding of what it's about. So those first 2 episodes won't be so confusing to me. I don't know if my friends will ever give it a shot, though. Because even then, like, when I told them how I felt about the book, they're like, yeah, I tried reading that and I didn't like it. So I don't think that they'll be on board for that. But yeah, so that's it for this week. Make sure to tune in next week to find out what books I'm reading for the month of November. Also, please make sure to leave feedback and add me on Goodreads so you can see my book progress. And don't forget to vote for Viewer's Choice, which will close November 25th. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.